Alright. Most of you guys know, Druids are the only class with all 4 specs in the game. Healing, DPS, tanking, range DPS. So that's pretty badass. We're the only class that cover all 4 aspects of the game. We also have one of the most powerful mana regens in the game with Innervate. And Rebirth. Battle Res. Badass. And all of our buffs that we bring to the raid as well. Each class has its own specific buff, except for tanks and Ferals bring their own buffs, whether they're tank or cat. So that's really all I'm going to cover in that part. Just to kind of get you an overview of Druids and why you should play Druid. They're just badass. We can shapeshift. Look at this. Go into different forms, speed. We're immune to polymorph while we're in form. We can also shapeshift in and out of forms to get out of snares and roots, like if you're rooted, or if somebody's got something on you. Just pop in and out. The only bad thing about being in form, if you're a PvP, you can be banished by warlocks, so you want to stay out of your form. We'll go to the next one, which is stats. Stats and ratings. The first thing you want to do as a Restoration Druid as you're working your way up, this is for 25 mana only, by the way. You want to be either, there's 2 different caps. You want to be either the 735 cap, or you want to be the 856 cap. Both those caps, they're going to make you rejuve a 1-second global cooldown. Blizzard has a built-in global cooldown, which means you cannot go below a 1-second cast, but we want our spell, our most powerful spell, Rejuvenation, at a 1-second cast. So what you're going to do is you're going to stack haste, pretty much. There's 2 different specs, and they're both in the guide here. And I will show them to you here in a little bit when we get down to the specs, which is next. But once you get the 735, which we'll go over, or if you get it to the 856, that's your cap. After that, you're going to start stacking spell power and pour it on as much as possible. Spell power increases our healing, so definitely want that. Spirit is good. When you're at haste cap, you should be gemming for pieces that are... I'll move this out of the way here. As you can see here, you want to be gemming for... or you don't want to have any gems, Spirit. In fact, you just want to have pieces with Spirit on them. Pieces that don't have Spirit are okay. Obviously, your Ashen Band will not, and I'm full best in slot, mind you. So if you're working towards full best in slot, it's okay, but you want to have pieces that have Spirit on it. Spirit's always going to be better for you because of this talent right here in your Restoration tree. Oops. Improved Tree of Life increases your armor contribution, while in Tree of Life form by 200% increases your healing spell power by 15% of your Spirit while in Tree form. So Spirit equals spell power, basically, is what that's saying. Not to mention, Spirit is also going to give you better mana regen. So Spirit's good, but it's only 3rd best. Like I said, it gives you some mana regen, but Restoration Druids do not have a problem with mana. You guys should not be going and I'll go over why later. Crit Strike. After you've reached the haste cap and you're at cap and you don't need to add any more pieces to your haste cap, you should be going for crit on your gear. Say you've got plenty of haste through your gear already, you're going for crit. The only piece there, I only have a few pieces. Obviously your 4 set, your helm and your shoulders both will have crit on them. And your bracers when you're in full best in slot. But you want to get as much haste as you can without breaking your 4 set through gear first. Now a lot of people have said, well, there's bracers. If we go to 10-man heroic, which I'll open that up real quick here if I can find an ICC. The heroic mode. I believe they're off Fester Guide. No, maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. I need wrists. Wrist. Ah. No, those aren't it either. What the hell? There we go. Septic Shock. Every single piece of gear in Icecrown Citadel, even the cloth bracers, are going to have crit on them. There are no haste bracers. The only ones that you can get, and we'll go over that real quick too, are off Jiraxxus and 25-man heroic Trial of the Crusader. If you go to 25-man loot, you go over to Lord Jiraxxus, you're going to see bracers of the Autumn Level. These are the only bracers that have haste on them in game, and they are actually our second best slot because of that. So if you get your hands on those, even in normal mode, they're still a good pickup. Let me move this out of here. But you want to go for crit after you've reached the haste cap, but with gear only. You don't want to gem crit or anything like that. All your gems should be straight spell power after you reach the haste cap, unless you need to hit the haste cap with just a little bit of haste. You're gonna throw a few haste gems in, which I do have, as you can see there, in my legs and in my boots. There are a few haste gems, but I believe those are pretty much it. Everything else is pretty much gonna be spell power. Intellect. Don't gem for it. It doesn't benefit druids really at all. Increases our crit and our mana pool. That's it. We're not paladins. We don't get anything special by going to intellect. So stay away from it. Just use what's on your gear. It's good because it does increase your mana pool, but it's not something you're going to stack for. MP5. Get a lot of questions about this too. MP5 does not exactly scale like it should with everything here on Molten. So, especially with druids. Even without that, Spirit is better for us because of the spell power, and it gives us mana back. So, again, we're not paladins. We don't need MP5. The only piece of MP5 gear that you will have is your Ashen Band, for obvious reasons, because Ashen Band's best in slot because of the equip. So we're going to go to the specs. I'm going to flip this over real quick. We're going to go to the specs, and I'll show you in the guide exactly here. This right here is the 735 spec. This one right here, 735 haste cap spec. As you can see here, you're going to be going to Celestial Focus. That's your goal, because you're going to be below haste unless you go and get Celestial Focus right here, which gives you 3% haste increase. To get to this, you're going to have to burn points into Nature's Grace right here. This little tree-looking thing, and we're going to spend a point into Brambles or anywhere else, but Brambles is about the only thing that's going to benefit you as a druid, restoration-wise, so that's why you drop a point there. The rest of your points are going to be all in the rest of the trees you can see here. You may want to switch a few things up down here if you don't find Revitalize is really that useful for you. Living Seed, Power Touch right here, and Natural Perfection are all options you can go into. At the 856 spec, which is right here, the 856 haste cap spec, you're going to drop Celestial Focus, Nature's Grace, and Brambles. This will allow you to pick up Healing Touch, or Nature, what is that? I forget the name of it. Empowered Touch. It's going to allow you to pick up Empowered Touch, Natural Perfection, and Living Seed while still retaining Revitalize. And I get people asking me all the time, well, why Natural Perfection? Well, once you're at the haste cap rating, you're going to want to go to crit like I was talking about. Because if you do find yourself casting those direct heals, you're going to want more crit. Natural Perfection does increase your critical strike chance for every point you have in it by 1% for all spells. It also will reduce damage taken up by 3%, but it only works if a critical strike is made against you. So if you get attacked by some mobs, it does come in handy. If they're hitting on you, you're going to be hit less as that goes, procs. So it also comes in handy. Flip back over here. So that's I get a lot of questions. What spec is better and why? You know, well, can I go for more? Well, if I use the 735 spec, wouldn't I be able to gem more spell power? Yes, but you're missing out like the talents that you get: Living Seed, Natural Perfection, Empowered Touch, you know, and Revitalize. You're gonna want those talents, and they're gonna help you heal more than any little bit of amount of spell power that you're gonna be swapping in and out, staying at the 735 spec versus the 856 spec. So that's why the 856 spec is better. You get more talents, you get more things to use at your fingertips at the 856 spec than you do at the 735 spec. Another thing I get always about is, why don't you use Nature's Grace? Well, if you look here, and I'll go over this right now, Nature's Grace, all non-periodical spell criticals have a 33, when you have all 3 points in, it's 100%. To grant you grace, a chance to grace you with a blessing of nature increases your spell casting speed by 20% for 3 seconds. Druids are hot healers. We don't do a whole lot of direct healing, and when we do, it's Heroic Lich King only. This talent really is great on Heroic Lich King if you're progressing towards it. If not, if you've got him on farm, or you've done it a million times like our guild has or whatever, you're not going to want Nature's Grace. You want to get rid of it. It's great for 10 man as well, but not for 25 man. And this being because, I'll show you guys right here, you cannot go below a 1 second GCD cast. As you can see here, my regrowth, I don't know if you can see it because my avatar is kind of in the way, but it's a 1.4 second cast. When you're in raid, that drops down to 1.1. So you'd be dropping 3 talent points into Empowered Touch just to knock off 0.1 second cast time, which is pointless. Especially if Heroism's out, you're not going to want to do that. What about Nourish? Well, Nourish is a 1.1 second cast for me outside of a raid already. So when I'm inside of a raid with Shaman Haste, Totems, and all that, all the buffs and stuff, it's already a 1 second global heal. So dropping points into Nature's Grace, again, not helping you with, it's only helping you with drop basically 0.1 seconds off your regrowth, and that's it. Unless you plan on using Healing Touch, then sure. But we'll get to that Healing Touch a little bit later here. We're going to move into healing spells and the breakdown. Alright, for your healing spells, we'll open up our spell book here, Restoration. Your two heals that you're going to end up using the most as a Druid, well, your top 3 really, Rejuvenation is by far your best heal. You want to get in there, you want to start spraying hots, if you can, pre-hot the raid before when they pull. This is going to jump you ahead on your healing rotation. We're good at anticipating future damage. Druids are not on the spot. Oh my god, that guy needs to be filled up to full health, let's go. And that's more of the Shamans and Paladins kind of role. We're great at anticipating future damage that's coming. So Rejuvenation is going to be probably your biggest heal, and then your second one, Wild Growth. Those are your 2 main ones. You're going to be using fillers with Swift Mend. If somebody is taking a huge hit and you have a hot on them, Swift Mend them. That heal is just overpowered. It's just awesome. Yeah. A couple of the heals that you're going to be rolling here, if you're doing a lot of more direct healing, you're going to be finding yourself using Regrowth a lot. This spell is actually awesome to keep on your tanks. I usually try to keep it rolling on my tanks most encounters. Not only does it heal for a pretty good amount, then it'll sit there and tick like a Rejuvenation, only it's 6 seconds longer than a Rejuvenation. So it's really, really nice to have. You also have Life Bloom, which you can throw on tanks. Now the problem with Life Bloom is it burns a lot of mana. As you can see here, it's a 782 mana cast versus, I mean, Regrowth isn't even that much. Rejuve's half of that. I mean, you're talking this spell really, yeah, there's it's one of our top, besides Healing Touch, it's our second most spent heal on mana wise. And the reason why you don't want to do this is because you find yourself going a lot if you keep this rolling on your tanks 24/7. If you have extra mana, by all means use it. If you do not, stay away from it. It's great for Heroic Lich King. And that's, I don't want to say that's it, but if you have the mana pool, definitely use it. Healing Touch, you stay away from this heal. It's pointless unless you have your Nature Swiftness, which is right here, right here as well. When activated, your next nature spell with a base casting time less than 10 seconds becomes an instant cast spell. So basically, it gives you an instant cast on any spell. There is a macro, and it is in the guide. I won't post it here, do nothing with it here, but if you are looking for that, you can go get it. It's in the guide. But using Nature Swiftness and Healing Touch macro is about the only time you're ever going to use Healing Touch. It's just too long of a cast. It hits as hard as Nourish does when you have a HOTS on a target. So it's just not that great of a heal. And you have Nourish, which again is a more do I want to use it? Do I not want to use it kind of thing. It's great when you have HOTS rolling on somebody because it hits damn hard when you have HOTS. As you see here, heals a friendly target for 2,071, 2,406. Heals an additional 20% if you have Rejuvenation, Regrowth, Wild Bloom, and Life Bloom effective on them. Active on the target. Whatever. So you definitely want a HOT. You just don't want to throw Nourish out there. Just start spamming it without HOTS on anybody. This is why HOTS come first in our healing priority, because everything else pretty much builds off of that. At least when it comes to Nourish. It's great for Heroic Lich King. It's just a great talent for Heroic Lich King. Two things I want to. It's your Tranquility, yes. Heals all nearby group members. This is not Cataclysm, this is Wrath. It isn't going to heal the whole entire raid like it did in Cata. This is only healing your party. So if you find your healers getting rocked by something, bust it. Great cooldown to bust. It also works with glowing Twilight Scale, which I put up here. I'll let you guys read that. It does basically what it does for the next 15 seconds. Each time your direct healing spells heal a target, you cause the target of your heal to heal themselves and friends within 10 yards for 402 for each second for 6 seconds. So it's really, really nice. But Tranquility, it's kind of a very situational kind of heal. So a couple other things you can do is a Resto Druid, remove curses. That's about our only dispel that we have, except for Abolish Poison. And you're not going to be using these too much in Icecrown Citadel. Remove Curse might be the only thing that you might be doing, but you won't be using Abolish Poison or removing Curse unless you're doing Lady Death Whisper and somebody has cleaved you and you need to be cleansed. Next thing I'm going to go over is the Glyphs. The Glyphs. Let me switch this up. Alright, Glyphs. The Glyphs you want to be using. There's two Glyphs that you want to use at all times, no matter what, in 25 man. The third one is kind of up in the air, and we'll get to that and which of the ones you should probably use in your third slot and which ones you shouldn't use in your third slot. Glyph of Swiftmen is an obvious no-brainer. You need to have this. Your Swiftmen ability no longer consumes a rejuvenation or regrowth effect from the target. Because if you look at Swiftmen when you first talent into it, it consumes a rejuvenation or regrowth effect from a friendly target, instantly healing them for the amount equal to 12 seconds of rejuvenation or 18 seconds of regrowth. So this basically allows you to Swiftmen them and keep the hot rolling on them. That's amazing. Especially when you're doing tanks. Hey, I want to leave that hot on them. You don't have to burn a global cooldown trying to refresh that hot. You can just burn Swiftmen and keep going about your business with your global cooldowns using Rejuve and Wild Growth. The other glyph you want to get is Wild Growth because it is such a powerful AoE heal, and a lot of these fights here in Molten are a lot more AoE than Retail was. And even in Retail, you still wanted to use this glyph. These two are just must-haves right here. I won't go over minor glyphs, they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll just pop them up here. Unburdened Rebirth, Dash, and Mark Glyph of the Wild. The third glyph that you're gonna be looking into here, and I've actually been meaning to change mine for a while here because I've been testing it again, and I think I'm just gonna go back with Innervate. But your possible glyphs that you're going to be using, and we'll pull them up here, see if we can find them. There is Glyph of Rejuvenation, which is the one I'm currently running here. When your rejuvenation targets are below 50% health, you heal them for an additional 50% health with your rejuvenation. So that's kind of nice. But I've tracked it here lately, just trying to test it out a little bit, and I think if I pull it up here on SCADA from earlier today, let's just pull up BQL or something. Healing absorbs. It only did, right here it is, the Glyph of Rejuvenation. It only hit for 3,500. So it, or no, it did hit for 26,000. That was the average hit. 27,000 my healing, 0.7%. So there's certain fights where I could do some decent healing, but I think I'm going to go back to Glyph of Innervate, which I'll cover right now here, if I can find it. Glyph of Innervate. Right, there we go. Innervate now grants the caster 45% of his or her, depending on what sex your toon is, mana pool over 10 seconds in addition to the normal effects of Innervate. What that means is if you evade somebody else, or evade yourself even, it's going to give you an extra, you will regenerate 45% of your base mana pool. And your base is based off without any stats on you, basically, is what that means, without any of your gear on. Just your base mana. So that's kind of nice. Even if you want to rejuve somebody else, or not rejuve, evade somebody else, you will get evade as well, a miniature evade as well, which is really nice. Which is probably what the glyph I will be going back to, because I don't find the Glyph of Rejuvenation as powerful as I thought it might be. The other glyph you can use is Glyph of Nourish. Your Nourish heals an additional 6% for each of your heal over time effects present on the target. This is more of a heroic Lich King kind of thing. If you find that you want a little extra power in your Nourish, definitely go grab this. But if you do find yourself using Nourish more than Regrowth, which some people do that, some people don't like Regrowth, some people prefer Nourish instead, then definitely pick this up. It'll give you a little extra healing boost with your Nourish. Now, here's the thing. I get a lot of questions about rapid rejuvenation. Why we shouldn't use it in 25 man. It is great in 10 man. Don't get me wrong. Great in 10 man. But the reason why you do not want to use this glyph, your haste now reduces the time between the periodic healing ticks of your rejuvenation. And you can read about it in my guide right here. I'll pretty much just go over it. This doesn't add any extra ticks to rejuvenation. All it does is lower the time it takes in between ticks. Every 3 seconds your rejuvenation will tick. So with that glyph, you're just going to be ticking faster. So instead of ticking every 3 seconds, you're going to be ticking like every 2 seconds. Sounds great in theory. Sounds great in paper, bad in theory. The value of this glyph depends on the damage of the pattern of the fight. Some fights, such as Twins or BQL or basically any heavy AoE healing fight, they have wide range aura damage, or any AoE fight for that matter, which favors rejuvenation while growth spamming. In such fights, what determines Druid throughput, our healing, is our healing per cast time, which makes this glyph not particularly useful. Moreover, if the DPS from the aura is less than the HPS of the rejuvenation modified by the glyph, then the glyph can even decrease effective healing throughput and increase overhealing. What this means is, because you're ticking so much faster, you're overhealing targets and you're not getting a full rotation in with your rejuves. With your normal rejuve at 18 seconds, you're going to be able to blanket quite a bit of the raid. You're talking, if you're doing nothing but rejuvenation, you can blanket the whole entire raid. You can blanket 18 people with rejuve before you have to start refreshing your hots. With the glyph of rapid rejuvenation, you're going to be able to heal less people. You'll be able to heal them faster but less. But say that the damage isn't really, they don't need to be topped off right away, which is what rapid rejuvenation is meant to do. It's meant to top somebody off quicker. When you have a long, steady AoE fight that's going to last more than like 2 seconds, you're going to want to not use that glyph. And as most of you guys know that do 25-mans, fights last a long time in that fight, and you do not want to have rejuvenation ticking so fast. You actually want it to go slower. And like they said, you'll also be doing a lot of overhealing. Where its strengths really are is in 10-man. It really gives druids something at 10-man to use. But 25-man, it just doesn't. You're going to notice a difference. If you go and use that glyph, let's say on an AoE fight, and then you don't use it, I guarantee you will notice a difference in between your healing. Alright, we'll go to gear here. Switch this out. Your gear. Then I'll show you how my character is best in slot. And you can also find a list in the guide, and it'll link you. It'll send you, if you click on any of the links, it'll send you to Open WoW. It'll show you what it is. First thing I get a lot of questions on before I even get started on the whole entire setup here. I get a lot of questions on why are you using a cloth chest? Why is that best in slot? Well, for like a few reasons. A lot of people get confused. This is not Cataclysm for one. Cataclysm, you do not get a, here in Wrath, you do not get a set bonus like you did in Cataclysm for using only leather items. So you're going to find items with cloth on them to have better stats or better things that you need, such as haste. You're going to want to go with cloth item. So that's why you're going to be using the cloth chest. The rest of your 4 set will be everything but your chest. The reason for this is because your hands, there is no crit, or there is no haste helm in ICC. So obviously your helm you're going to want to use, your hands, and your legs. These are the 3 that people usually get right. Another one that people usually don't get wrong, they go for the chest. The problem with using the chest is the tier chest has crit on it. And if you look at, and this is where gear score will come into example here, even though they have the same item levels, as you can see, item level 277, item level 277, the stats on the shoulders are not as great as the stats on the chest. There are leather haste chests out there. I believe the badge one is haste, which is a good pickup until you can get the sanguine silk robes. But the haste shoulders are not going to offer you using the haste shoulders as your offset is going to force you to use your crit chest. But the stat loss that you're going to lose from turning that into this, as you can see, haste rating 98. If we go to pull it up here real quick. Where's ICC? There we go. There's the heroic frost tip shoulder tipped thorns. The haste rating on those is only 74. And those are the best you could get for that slot if you're rolling those haste shoulders instead of the haste chest. So you're losing 74 is the max you can get here on haste for your shoulders if you're using that as your offset. Whereas the chest, the max you can get is 98. Anytime we can get more haste and get closer to the cap by using gear, we need to be doing that. You should not be using. You want to stay away from gems as much as possible. From gemming haste as much as possible. This is why you're going to use the silk robes, because they have higher haste, because their stat increases are better than the shoulders. Even though they're both item level 277, the stats on the shoulders are less than the stats on the chest. Same for legs and hands. Even though they're both item level 277, the stat gains on the legs are much higher than the ones on the hands, by like 30. So that's why you're using a cloth chest. Now he's getting to the best of slot list here. Like I said, I'm really not going to go over too much here because you can find it here in the guide, which I'll put a link to in this video. I'm just going to go over some of the questions that I usually get. The legendary mace. What if I don't have the coins to donate for the legendary mace? I would suggest the great staff off Heroic Lich King if you do want to donate, but you don't want to donate for the mace. The staff off Heroic Lich King is a great pickup, and I still actually have it. I believe in my bag still. Can't remember. Yes, there it is. Arch is great staff. This is everything you're gonna want. It's got spirit, it's got spell power, it's got haste. Those are the three things you want: spell power, haste, spirit. You want items like that. If you don't have the money to donate for the legendary, or if you don't have the time to farm the legendary, for that matter, it is farmable here on Molten. A lot of people don't understand or don't know that. You can go into Odlar 25-man mode, gather the shards up, ticket a GM, and they will give you the mace. So, another good things you can pick up is Dying Light, which I do have in my banks. That's off Blood Queen, and the Chieftain Staff from Deathbringer Sarving and 10-man Heroic is also a good pickup. People get I get a lot of questions. Well, what about Trauma? What about Trauma? Because Trauma was best in slot for a long time. I think it's in my banks too. The problem with Trauma right now is, and I haven't had a chance to test it because of these updates. So as of right now, unless there's something fixed that I didn't know about, it is still broken. Trauma, it does proc, but it's not procking like it should. That's all I know. It's not working correctly. I've tested it myself, and compared to retail, it's not doing the healing that it was in retail. So it will proc, just not the way it should be procking. The mace does really do that much healing. For everyone that I always get a lot of questions about that too. Does the mace really do that kind of healing you're talking about? Well, let's look right here, and I'll bring up a good example. This is off of, I believe, BQL. Yes, this is BQL. You can see right here, that does almost 500,000 healing, 14% of my healing from the mace alone. I mean, and you're talking, let's go to even a bigger fight that I've had. There it is in action against the Heroic Twins, 25-man TOGC. You're going to 5.5 million healing done just from my mace alone, which is just crazy, crazy damage that it absorbs. And right there you can see it did. I did basically 7.5 million healing, and it accounted for 5.5 million of that. It's just crazy how much it can absorb. So yes, if you do have the money or you do want to farm it, it is definitely worth it. It's best in slot for Wrestler Druids by far. There's also a bug with it, which I won't get into too much detail here, but it does benefit Druids more than any other class right now. It's broken with Paladins. It's not going off the Beacon. Shamans is broken with. It's not going off the Earth Living. Your little mini heal that you throw out when you chain heal. It's not procking off, or it's not doing the amount that it should be, or procking off of it. So that's something else. Priest, it's still not as powerful on Priest. We actually have a Priest who picked it up. Like I said, if you want to know more about it, I can go into detail with it. You can always hit me up in game. But it's kind of like, I don't know, hard to explain really. But we'll go over the gemming next here. Alright, gemming. Pretty much like I was saying from the beginning. You want to get the haste cap right off the rip. After that, you're going to pour on spell power. So as you see, all my gems are all spell power haste. All spell power haste. There's no single gem in my gear that's not spell power or haste. Meta gems. There's two different gems you can use. You can use a 25 spell power plus 2% intellect, which again, this is throughput spell power is what I'm going for. If you find yourself going a little bit more which you really shouldn't as a druid, which like I said, I will get to later on in this video. There is also the Insightful Earth Siege Diamond, which is 21 intellect and chance to restore mana on spellcast. Excuse me. So you'll also be wanting to use that as well. You should always try to get as much gear as you can and then gem around where you're short haste. That's why you see gems in me with the spell power and haste rating. Reckless Ametrine, I believe it is, if you're a jewel crafter or whatever. definitely need those gems. A lot of questions I get too, why no spirit gems? Well, if you're gemming for spirit, unless you're gemming straight spirit, which you shouldn't be because you're going to lose so much healing, there's no point gemming. I see a lot of people have like 2 or 3 gems. Those 2 or 3 gems of spirit are not going to save you. Hitting those socket bonuses is also a fail. As you see, I've hit most of my socket bonuses except for the ones that are just pointless. I don't need, for instance, this is a prismatic, a yellow, and a red. But, yeah, you just... you don't want to be hitting all these. As in instance, these are blue. This is a blue socketed gem. Let's say you put a spirit, or so you put a spirit gem in there, or you put a spell power spirit. I'm not sure what color that is. To hit 5 spell power, that's only going to give you 17 spell power plus 10 spirit. At 10 spirit, 15% of that 10 spirit is still not going to equal a 23 spell power gem. People are like, well, Funky, well then I'll have an extra 10 spirit, which does, I'll get more mana back. You're not going to get that much mana back from a plus 10 spirit gem to maybe want to stack spell power over it. Again, this spec is for throughput, and my gear is set up for throughput to maximize my healing at every area that I possibly can. This is why you're not going to use socket bonuses. You're better off just bypassing them. They're never going to equal the amount. If you put a straight gem in there, they're never going to out-equal that if you're min-maxing your gear, which min-maxing basically means you're maximizing your healing and you're minimizing all the other stuff that you don't really need. That's just, oh, well, I could get this because it does help me in this area. No, you're min-maxing your stats. You're maximizing everything that's good for you and minimizing everything that's not good for you. And then we're going to go over... I want to go over questions. Current bugs here in Molten. And macros. Oh my god, I can't spell extra. Alright, for the kind of questions I get a lot of times, here lately I hear on Molten, they're just as of, I believe it was the, I gotta look it up again, as of the 6th, I believe it was the 16th of September 2013 here, they have updated Restoration Druids here on Wrath. Our idols were broken, our 4-set was broken, and our Revitalized talent was broken. All 3 of those are working again. So I had a lot of questions earlier. What idol should I be using? What idol should I be using? The idol that you should be using is the Emblems of Frost one, by far. Now it is working again. Is there a rotation that you should be using? Druids don't use a rotation, and the reason for this is because there's damage is very unpredictable. You're never going to be able to predict what is happening, what is going on. So you're always going to be without a rotation. If we were to use a rotation, the things you want to do is you want to be casting Rejuve and Wild Growth and using Swiftman whenever you can. Those 3 things right there is what you want to be doing. You want to start off by blanketing the raid as much as you can, and from there on, Wild Growthing, and like I said, using Swiftman. There are going to be those times where unpredictable things happen. You know, you may want to throw a Regrowth on somebody. You may have to bust a Tranquility. You may have to throw Nourishes out. It's always unpredictable as a healer, which makes healing to me always that much more fun, because every fight and every time we go in there, the encounter and where you move might be the same, but what's going to happen to the raid is always different. Which is why I personally enjoy healing. I find it much more fun than doing other things. I get a lot of questions on the Tier 9. Why aren't we using the Tier 9, Funky? Why? You know, I've heard Tier 9's really good because of the crit on Rejuve. Well, the thing was, and a lot of people don't remember this, back in 3.3.2, which is the expansion before Ice Crown Citadel was released, our Rejuve was at 1 second. But then they changed Gift of the Earth Mother around, this talent right here. And when that was changed around, we had a gem for a lot more haste to get to the rejuvenation cap. If you're going to roll Tier 9, you're going to be pretty much gemming a lot of haste. You're losing out, not to mention all the stat losses you're going to have. It's about 100 stats you're going to lose every single piece of tier 9 that you're wearing versus tier 10. Also, the crit. You're going to lose a lot of crit rating. Even though you're going to be getting crit off of your tier 9, not only are you going to have to gem for haste, you're also going to have to gem for crit. I've tested it. It just doesn't do the throughput that it should. It's great on Heroic Lich King because of the Nourish bonus, and if you were using Rapid Rejuve and the critical on it, it's great. Other than that, 25-man, no, it just doesn't stand up to the effects of the 10-man, or the tier 10 set. And which brings me to the next question. I get this a lot too. Is the 4-set tier 10 worth it? Because it's only 2% chance, Funky. You know, is 2% really that much? Yes. This talent, now that it is fixed here, like I said, it just got fixed. Even though it is a 2% chance to jump, it is 1, free healing. Free healing, no casting. It's also a target that you can use when that free rejuvenation is cast out. You can also use your Swiftmend on that target, which is another good thing that you could to have as well. The 2% chance jump is actually quite a bit. If you guys have watched some of my videos, you can see where, especially yesterday in a 25-man VOA, I was basically looking for somebody to throw a rejuve on because the whole entire raid had a hot on it. It just really does that much healing, and it's just crazy. It does anywhere from 12 to 15% of my healing, roughly, about every fight. I don't have the World of Logs to show you that. I wish I did. The ones I have they're all gone, but I believe if you run Recount, you can see the proc. I'm not sure. I don't run Recount personally, and SCADA doesn't show it. So, but if you do run Recount, I believe you can see it. Don't quote me on it, but I believe you can see the other rejuvenation. So yes, it is worth it. Definitely worth getting that 4-set. I've already gone over why not to use the why do you talk about hitting the haste cap, Funky, and then going for crit after you hit the haste cap on your gear, as I've done with my bracers here, where they're crit. Why don't you get the crit boots and the haste bracers instead? Again, same as the hands and the legs, and same as the shoulders and the chest here. The boots, these boots offer more haste than any set of haste that the bracers out there will offer you. So this is why you're using the boots, because the haste gain on the boots is, and these are the crafted boots, by the way, very easy to get here. Yeah, there's no point you shouldn't have them. They are best in slot because of the haste they have on them. It makes them best in slot. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. What is the T9 Rapid Rejuve plus crit spec, and why haven't I gone over it? I get a lot of that too. Well, Funky Roy's talking about it. Why don't you go over it? I am a 25-man kind of guy. I don't really heal too many 10-mans. I have done it. I do have my Bane title, yada yada yada, but the main focus is 25-man because the best gear comes out of 25. Guilds are doing 25-man rating. There are no real strict. There's not a whole lot of strict 10-man rating, and that's what I'm basing this guide off of, and that's what I'm why I'm not gonna discuss it. So if you want to know more about it, I'd be happy to go in details in private, or send me a message, Twitter, whatever you want to use to get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to go over it and talk with you about it. The macros that you can find here on my guide here on Molten, and I'll bring that up real quick here. As you can see here, here's the macros and extra part. I'll zoom in on that. Hopefully you guys can see it. There's the power shift macro, which when I go back over to my other screen, you can see it. My GM's texting me. Oh god. Power shift macro. What this is going to do, and it's great for PvP as well. It's going to basically break any root or snare or slow on you and put you right back into the same form. This way, you're not trying to hit a button and try to get back out of form, then hit one, try to get back in form. This macro will do it all for you in one shot. Take the snare off you, get you out of it. Here's the nature, swiftness, and healing touch macro like I was talking about. There's nature, swiftness, and rebirth, which I use, but mine is not macroed because it is a 2-press macro. Instead, I just hit 7 and 8 on my Naga and instantly rebirth them. There's the Bark Skin plus Tranquility, in case it's like kind of like a oh shit kind of thing. Then we're going to go over Flasks. You want to be using Spell Power again here, guys. Like I said, your Spell Power is your main stat after you hit the haste cap, so obviously Frostworm's the way to go. If you do find yourself going you want to use Flask and Mojo. Some of the tricks that I use here, and they did fix clear casting proc, I heard, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it today, but we will see. To conserve mana, here's a little neat trick you can do, and this worked even in retail. When your Omen of Clarity procs, which is in your talents, and we'll go back to that really quick here. Bring up the talents. Your Omen of Clarity. Each of the Druid's damage, healing spells, and auto attacks has a chance of causing the caster to enter a clear casting state. The clear casting state reduces the mana, rage, or energy cost of your next damage ability, or healing spell, or offensive ability by 100%. It's basically a free heal. Well, if we go to Life Bloom here, when you're clear casting procs, and if you go to wrong one, Life Bloom, if you read the Life Bloom talent, you will get mana back when your Life Bloom falls off the target. You will be instantly where's it at? You retain instantly after the spell is done half the cost of it. So at 782 mana, really you're looking at 300 some mana coming back to you. So it's a great, when you're clear casting procs, you can actually throw out Life Bloom for free, and you get mana back for free. So when that's working, if you do find yourself going, that is a great way to time that proc. I would suggest getting some kind of tracker for that when it procs. Like I, as you can see here, when it procs for me, if we get it, yeah, there it goes, clear casting right there. It shows up in the center of my screen. That way I know, hey, I can cast a free Life Bloom, which it does look like it's working because usually it would disappear. I'm still going to get the mana back from that, and it's a free cast. That would be a Vent Alert. Need some kind of tracker for that. But, I get all my questions too. Well, my Wild Growth, why do you... Like, I can never hit a whole party. You're better off using... For me personally, when I heal, I always try... It's not always true because sometimes I can't always reach him, but I always try to cast my Wild Growth into the melee. This is going to ensure that they all get hit. Probably the tanks get hit too, because melee usually do bunch up quite a bit. You don't want to use it too much on your casters, so when you're casting Wild Growth on your melee, you're casting Rejuve until Wild Growth comes back off cooldown again. You're casting Rejuve on your ranged. So that's a good way to use your Wild Growth. If you're not sure if you want to get the maximum effect for Wild Growth, because it is that powerful heal, you can always cast it on yourself if you're not sure. Stand in a group, cast it on yourself. Do not refresh your hots. It's called clipping yourself. Say you still have a hot rolling here and it's down to 2 seconds or whatever, and you cast another Rejuve on it. That's 2 other Rejuves you could have casted on somebody else instead of yourself, or whoever you have hotted up already, and that's just a waste of mana. So make sure you are not clipping yourself. You do not want to refresh hots on a target. The only time you should be clipping yourself is on tanks to keep them fully hotted up. If you're in that kind of an encounter or your tanks are taking that much kind of damage, that'd be about the only time you want to refresh those, just in case you know a movement's coming up where you're not going to be able to heal. Refresh that, then move. A lot of questions about my UI. I get this a lot of questions about my UI. In the guide, there is, if you go to the bottom, I have a link where it says, I personally use LUI. If you go to the link, click on LUI, it'll take you to the LUI. LUI is all this stuff you see here, these little pop-out bars, all the orange text, effects, all this stuff up here. That's all LUI. Things that I have personally added, and it's chatter for my... see if we can move this real quick here. Chatter. There's Chatter for you guys. Yeah. That's Chatter. But I use that for my chat box and stuff, and also up here in my officer discussion. Another thing I use right over here, as you can see, I don't have my mouse turned on, but this thing right here is Grid 2. LUI comes with Grid 1. I personally don't like Grid 1. I like Grid 2. It shows a lot more debuffs. A lot of people are like, well, you got to roll decursive and all this other stuff. With Grid 2, it shows you what's being cursed. It shows you what's being what's cast on somebody, if it can be dispelled, all that stuff, yada 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 yada. So that's why I love Grid 2. Plus, it's a lot more customizable than Grid 1. Definitely love it. Another thing I use, and you guys have seen it here, when I had my spellbook and abilities open. What's this other tab? Click configuration. What click is basically a mouse over. It's a mouse over macro. As you can see here, these are all my different mouse overs that I use. Get texted. Yes, I play Arena, but I'm not doing it right now. Sack busy with video. What this does is going to mouse over. So as you can see here, when I mouse over myself, I can just cast Rejuve. That's my back button on my Naga for me. My middle mouse wheel, push down, is one wild growth, yada yada yada. Definitely a great pickup for any healer who wants to use mouse overs. I know there's a lot of things that come with mouse overs already on them. I also use it for DPS and stuff. It's not only just for healing alone. There's a lot of stuff you can macro to it. Just crazy good. I love that click. Awesome. Like you can see here on my Naga, number 6 is my power shift. You can't see it because I have this blocking it, but my bars are right behind. Where's your favorite band? What is your favorite band? But on my Naga, you can see here, bark skin. I can out of my shapeshift. There we go. Power shift, which is me going in and out of form right now. Which is why you see this little cloud of smoke going on. Power shift macro, shadow meld, and tranquility. A lot of questions about professions too. What professions should I use? There are a lot of good professions. Obviously, you want anything that's going to boost your spell power or your haste. Get a lot of people going tailoring for the haste cloak. The haste cloak is not consistent. It's a proc, and you do not want to have things procking to get you to the haste cap. You want to be at haste cap at all times. So, not something you want to go for. I would suggest leatherworking, enchanting, jewel crafting, even blacksmithing. Anything that's to boost your spell power and or haste, for that matter. But that is about it, guys. I think I covered pretty much everything that's in the guide. If not, you can always hit me up here, and I'd be more than happy to go over with stuff with you guys. Hopefully you can check out the live stream. You can watch me stream. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, I'll put the link in here. But that's all I got for right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully.